just think of all the warning signs and
Yeah.
everything that he sent and wonder what we could have done differently. And I talked to him a week before. He was so excited because he passed this test. Because he wanted to go back to school and go into nursing and stuff. We
Yeah.
gotta be there for our kids now more than ever.
And counseling. That's something that the kids do need.
They all need it, I agree with
Oh, they all do.
I'm never gonna be a grandma to his kids.
Yeah, that's true.
Never. I'm not gonna see him get married or...
Hi, besties. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. So, I've made a decision after watching season 19, episode 25, that for the first time since I've covered the show and done recaps of these episodes, I'm not going to show any clips because it feels wrong. It feels wrong to share clips from that episode because there was a lot that happened in that episode that I was as beautiful as it was that they said goodbye to him and laid him to rest. It felt very invasive, and I feel like I don't wanna spread that further. That's on TLC. They did a graveside service, and it was shown on TLC, and they put his urn in the ground, and it was very intimate and very hard to watch. But I wanted to just touch on a couple things from the episode outside of that part of the episode, because that part of the episode was like the middle of it. There was a part before they went to the cemetery, and then there was a part after. And I just wanted to kind of expound on what my observations were from this. And very early on in the episode, it was clear that Janelle and Christine were together with some of their kids. Not all of the kids were there for all parts of it. McKelty and Tony were not there at all. I think that this happened to coincide when they were moving or in the process of moving to North Carolina, so that could have been why. So McKelty and Tony weren't there at all, and as far as I could tell, the rest of the siblings were there. Logan was on camera, but he didn't speak. Hunter was there, but he wasn't in any of the episode parts where they went fishing. Same with Logan. They really didn't include themselves in any of that. Gabriel was there. All of Christine's kids, except for McKelty, were there. And then Leon and Audrey were there. So all of the siblings minus McKelty, and obviously Garrison was not there because it was his funeral. And then Mary was there, but Mary was not with them, did not stay with Janelle and Christine. And Mary wasn't around for the filming when they did the filming with even Leon. So I don't know if Mary just wasn't welcome and she wasn't invited to do that kind of stuff just because they're not close. And Leon opted to be with their siblings, and that there was stuff that Leon did with Mary off camera, but Leon was in the filming with their siblings. So it was actually really nice to see Leon with Audrey. And they actually seemed really, really, really heartbroken by it all. So it was, you know, very obvious in this episode that death of Garrison did not bridge any reconciliation with Kody whatsoever. Most specifically, when the adult children were there with Christine and Janelle, and even at the graveside, none of the two sides interacted. So when they actually were face to face, Kody was on one side with Robyn and her kids minus Dayton. And then on the other side, it was like everyone else. Honestly, it was like Kody and Robyn on one side and everyone else on another side. And there was no scene interacting between the two sides. They kept their distances. There was a very obvious disconnect between them. There was a very obvious not interested in communicating between them. And there was an obvious no reconciliation happened. Okay. And Janelle did say that this death has been a good reminder to the siblings. And by the siblings, she means the children with her, Christine, and Mary, and how those kids have all found a way at least some of them, to mend some of the fences, some of the wounds between them, settle some of their differences, reconnect more and talk more and be together more. And they check in more and they have more conversations with one another. It's helped create just sort of like a glue with them again, where they are just sort of reminded about what's important. It's made them stronger in their relationships, and it's also made them willing to sort of set aside their differences between the all of the kids minus Robin's kids. That never there was no conversation whatsoever between Robin's kids and the kids that the OG3's original kids. So there's this like obvious distance. There's all these different competing storylines. And I do think this episode was done a lot better in that it included a lot more from Janelle and Christine with their kids, those that were truly impacted by it, those that remained close to Garrison. I felt like there was more time given for them to share their thoughts and feelings and to talk and to share their memories. There was moments for Christine and to Janelle to kind of talk through, their own grief and their own challenges with all of this. And it was nice to see, even though it felt very invasive and slightly exploitative, it was just nice to see that Christine and Janelle could be there for each other. And I think what I've learned oddly about this is that I had a lot of questions about David, Christine's husband, initially. I had these reservations about his background and like, was he in this for the right reasons? Is he really a good guy? And he is just like the most solid dude ever. All the kids love him. He's like a rock for Christine. He seems like he's a rock for her kids. He and Truly obviously have a really good relationship. And he just kind of fits in like so seamlessly with the family. It's like he was always supposed to be there. So I'm just glad that Christine has such a supportive spark partner in this. So I think that part of this has been maybe the most, it shouldn't be surprising to me, but it's been the most, I'm just glad Christine again has a good partner. I'm glad that she found the love that she wants. I'm glad that when she's going through something like this, she has people that she can lean on. And then when it comes to Janelle, it was very obvious that her boys are just kind of rallying around her and protecting her and being there for her and like just trying to take care of her, even though they're grieving themselves. It's just obvious that her boys are leaning into her and taking care of her. So I'm glad she has that as well. There was nothing really between Janelle and Kody where they had on camera conversation or dialogue, only at the gravesite when, she handed the urn to him and he placed it in the ground. But even during the funeral, they sat on opposite sides. They spoke at completely different times. They were very divided. And I noticed that when Kody was speaking about Garrison, some of the siblings were not even looking at him. They were kind of looking down, almost, just not even interested in what he said. It almost felt like they kind of looked at it like it was very performative. So there was that. I think I would have preferred not to have seen him be buried, honestly. I feel like I didn't need to see that. But something at the end kind of piqued my curiosity. And it's something that I've been told by other people that know them. It's that Madison sitting down with Leon and she said like she didn't say, I feel sad for Kody, but I really feel sad for Cody's kids. She didn't even mention Robin's name. It was very clear that like a lot of the issues with Kody obviously have to do with how he treated them. They have the most of their issues are with Kody, but then they'll say Cody's name, but they won't say Robin's name. So they don't call them their siblings. So Maddie was like, if I could speak to Robin's kids, I would say that I'm sorry if I ever hurt you. I'm sorry if I ever made you feel bad. I didn't feel that. I didn't mean to ever make you feel this way. And Leon made a comment and said, I just want to be able to speak to them. And I thought, gosh, that is so weird, right? What have Kody and Robin done to those children to have them poisoned so much against all of the other kids in this family? Why are the two sets of siblings so pit against each other? I understand there's this whole the haves and the have-nots, those that are like Kody and Robyn who think they're better than everyone, and Janelle and Christine and Mary and their kids on the other side of the spectrum. And that was all also very obvious just in how Robyn and Kody came to the graveside where they all were like done up and looking very dapper, and then a lot on the side where Janelle and Christine and the kids were there more casually, honoring the casualness of Garrison. So it also felt like that sort of juxtaposition, like they're done up, very like they're going to church, and the other side was more casual. That was just another observation I had. But what have they said to them that it's so impossible for them to even have a conversation, that they can't even reach out to them to have a conversation because it's being dictated and controlled through Robyn and Kody? These are adults that they obviously could have a conversation with. And I understand that if your siblings have you blocked and if your siblings don't want to talk to you, that's fine. You totally should respect boundaries. But in this case, I feel like all of the sibling issues are because of what Kody and Robyn have said and done to poison them against those kids. And I partially believe a lot of that is because they don't want the kids to all talk and have an opportunity to mend fences and see the truth about who was the one that was inserting things into our brains about them. Because it was really Robyn that is always delivering the message and the implication of what she thinks people think about her, and she's the one that felt traumatized and rejected, right, by the other OG3 kids, and she put that on her kids. They don't like me, so they don't get to have a relationship with them, right? And obviously the OG3 kids had a hard time adjusting, and they did it all on TV, which was a horrible idea when they meshed the families, and Kody then just went off and ran off into the sunset with Robyn and the kids. I mean, that's basically what he did. There's years and years and years of resentment and frustration, but the fact that even at the funeral, they couldn't speak, even at the funeral, they didn't talk, even at the funeral, Kody didn't interact with any of his children that weren't Robyn's children, he only interacted with Robyn's children. He did not interact with any of his other children. So when I think of it like that, it's like you don't even interact with your other children, the siblings, the direct siblings that have to do with Garrison. But then you're there making this whole fuss about Garrison when you don't even have a relationship with his brothers and sisters. I felt this is so weird. If you're a parent, how do you not go over to the other side and be like, I'm sorry, I effed up? How do you not try to make everything right? How do you not admit that you were wrong? How do you not recognize that you could have done things differently? How do you still in death not find a way to make things right? And so when they discuss, McKelty has said that they acted in ways during this process that made her pull away from them. I think this is what they're talking about. It's like they don't care about the other kids. This is all being made for television. And when they have the opportunity to interact with those kids face to face, there's no conversation. And I know a lot of the kids want nothing to do with him, and that I understand, but not even an attempt. It was just wild. I did notice that Logan went over to Robyn and the kids, Brianna, Aurora, and gave them a hug at the graveyard and the graveside service. That was really the only one I saw interacting that crossed over, but that's Logan. Logan is the peacemaker in this family. So at the service, Tim, who is Kody's sister's husband and owns the ranch, delivered a eulogy of sorts, but more a sermon, I suppose. And he spoke directly to the grief of a mother and dealing with the loss of a child and the importance of learning about relationships and finding a way to put things aside from one another to mend fences. I felt as though his message was relevant and delivered compassionately given what's happened in this family. I found it odd that he framed Kody and he said, no one will understand the remorse of a father or a father's remorse. in reference to the death of Garrison. And I don't know if Kody asked him to put that in. I don't know if that was said because Tim wants the other kids to see that Kody is remorseful for what happened and feels a sense of responsibility for what he's done and how he created all of this division and what he said about Garrison very publicly. But I think something else could have been said at the service. That was my one part where I just didn't need to hear that. I didn't need to hear about Kody being remorseful because none of his behavior with his other children showed that he had remorse. That was how I viewed it. Overwhelmingly, TLC did a better job with this episode, and Robin was pretty non existent in the episode, and she didn't seem to have emotions about Garrison. It was mostly Kody brought his boy home, not we laid our son to rest. Which, if you're going to be a stepmom, Robin, you should start seeing Cody's kids as your kids too, but what do I know? So tell me what your thoughts are about this episode. Were you moved? Were you uncomfortable? And what do you think about this ongoing division in the family? Tell me in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.